right. I was kind of running out of ideas as to what the stream was going to be about. I figured it would be to some extent entertaining to just kind of sit here and talk about all of the candidates instead of let me do an individual video for each one and on each possibility and whatnot. So we're doing this again. Uh, See if we get anybody in here. I guess I'll start us off with I'd say probably the most disappointing. It's kind of this is the story where I give the person a two like a backhanded compliment. If I can share the window. All right, you can see that right there. This story from the Hill. Go here. So Klobuchar recently just confirmed that she was against free college, which I think nobody was actually surprised by because we know her goofy record of her of voting against anything that people actually like. But I thought her answer was probably the most because I don't want to play the actual clip, but there was a guy who said, "Hey, can you tell me what your position on this is, and can you just preface it with having a yes or no? So just say, yes, I'm for this, no, I'm against this." That's all he wanted. Very simple and to the point. I think it's sad that people even have to ask their politicians for those kind of answers, or just that's not assume that they're just going to say, here's my position, or just yes or no in response to a question. But going back to the story, the comment she gave after, going on her tangent about how both her and her husband had student loan debt, which I don't know how this is relevant at all. The more that little personal story crap that nobody cares about. And that's not just for her, that's for anyone. I am not for free. 4-year college for all, no. And then this is it. Make that all blue. I wish if I was a magic genie and could give that to everyone and we could afford it, I would. I'm just trying to find a mix of incentives and make sure kids that are in need. That's why I talked about expanding Pell Grants can go to college and be able to afford it and make sure the people that can't afford it are able to pay. I mean, they kill me with this. Like in their head, they actually think that a solid answer to a gaping problem is to say, "Oh, you think I'm a genie if you want that? You must believe in magic and fairy tale." It reminds me of the stuff they would say about Bernie's ideas that it was pie in the sky, which is why now all of the Democrats that are running, except for her and like two other people, are trying to convince you that they're like him. So the pie in the sky thing actually wasn't true, which is all the more convenient and then amusing, just in retrospect. Oh. So let's return to the Legion of Stupidity. Go and find this other one. Application. I think this is the de Blasio story. Let me look. Oh, that's Harris back. What do you call it? Changing her mind. Here's de Blasio. Share that. So he was known to visit Iowa this weekend. And he's being touted as a potential candidate. What I don't understand is what about him is anyone actually excited about? Because the only two options he has is to do what Klobuchar is doing, which is to, not hide that you're kind of milquetoast, and the only reason anybody would vote for you is because you're not Trump. Or if he's like Booker or Harris, he pretends to be Bernie 2.0, which people already will be able to spot because you didn't push for anything that Sanders supports up until, you started running or otherwise the last 2 years. Like that's been my biggest problem with Castro. I told this person, you don't get to sit around after getting out of the White House, when Obama's tenure ended, and not say a word for 2 years, and then suddenly, want to come around and pretend that you were always for these things. So it's all just stupidity. right at one after another. If you look at the everyday discourse, you'd think this is a country mirrored in division and that conservative forces are dominant. I think it's quite the opposite. I think this is a country wants to be united. So more platitude stuff you hear out of a high school acceptance speech than actual discussions of problems. Nothing about ending the wars. Nothing about climate change. Just, it's all useless platitudes that have no help toward any individuals that are actually looking for solutions to gaping problems that are going on. And people will still eat this up. They'll still go, "Oh yeah, Bloomberg, get in." All five of them, all five real people in the media. So that's another cute little story. I can see the lack of interest by the chat. So we're gonna do one more thing, which will probably be the most entertaining. Let's go over here to what is this website? It's 270. I always like to go over here because it's very exciting to try to rank the elections and whatnot. Pretend you have a crystal ball. You can see into the future. Even though, the actual election cycles are probably, there's still stuff that's outliers that we can't see at this point, but I think we have enough to where we can kind of infer what's going on. Oh, thank you. I was getting really worried. It's like, oh, my approval rating went to, not 0%. So let's play the Klobuchar thing first because one of her main talking points, is she even on here? Wow. That's how relevant she is. They decided to just not even bother with her. But one of her main talking points is this idea that since she's from the Midwest, she can win states that Clinton couldn't or whatever. So let's be nice, right? Let's give her Iowa. Let's give her, obviously she's going to get Minnesota. I mean, that's a blue state. She has I think almost 60% approval rating over there, even though I personally don't see why people vote for her to begin with, other than just, Democrat, Democrat, Democrat. I don't see a scenario where she doesn't get that doing before he decided to run for president. He was the housing and urban development secretary under Obama for about, I think, 3 years, 2 years at least. And he never talked about single payer. He never talked about climate change. He never talked about, tuition free school, just nothing. So let's get back to this ranking. I'll do Castro after this. Again, he's another empty suit. They just like with I don't know if you remember this, Ruben, but Harris was opposed to legalizing marijuana up until a few months ago. And there's a clip of her laughing at her Republican opponent for supporting its legalization here. These are the kind, like, when you see a person who is that callous towards something that people want, like in droves, right? Why would you think when they get in office that they're going to be serious about doing it? Just think about it. We had a single payer bill here in California. Well, she was either attorney general, which I think it did happen before she became senator, but it was around the time that she became senator. And it was radio silent. She wouldn't say a word. So, that's my dissident. But look, here's the biggest problem with Klobuchar, right? I don't care what people say about Sanders. He's proven himself to have a very favorable approving with people who are 18 to I think 34. So they turn out more for him, and people like Warren. And then maybe I'd maybe consider the same thing for Harris. But with Klobuchar, she offers them nothing. So I see, like, all these states, right? I don't see them flipping. The only one I can I'll give it a middle. I should have left at that one color. Ugh. I'll leave that one that way. That's the only one I see just not going and being on her side. I just don't see, like, they all have this little thing in their heads where they think because she's in a state that's close to this state, she's going to win it. No. The biggest problem with any of these candidates is that they're not burning. Oh, that is so true, Josiah. I think I said before, the only two I really believe could win, other than him, are maybe Warren and Gabbard. because with Gabbard, especially Gabbard, since the only thing they slander her with is being an Assad apologist, and then nobody even actually cares about Assad. Like in the U.S., no one is sitting here going, "Oh, I can't believe that he's still president of Syria." There's no one. It doesn't matter to them, so it wouldn't influence anyone's actual support. Whereas the Native American thing, they'll rub that in Warren's face until the election day. Even though I still do think it's overstated as far as what it can actually do. I'm glad that Sanders had an influence on her, Ruben. All right, let's go back to this. So the only one I just am undecided on is Wisconsin. I'm very confident he could just smash her with this. But again, call me someone with TDS. Someone with TDS would not say he can beat a majority of the Democrats that are running. And somebody who's Bernie or bust wouldn't give you constantly two other names that I believe could actually win. So look, I don't care about the fact that he's from Texas. I don't see. I'm gonna keep it in this pink red, which is actually an error for Klobuchar because that implied I thought she had a chance of winning that. I'm gonna say it still just leans red. I don't know who he's going to appeal to, like in any of these places. I'm gonna say he might be able to pick up Florida just because of the fact that he's at least trying to copy Sanders. Like at least seems like if you put him somewhere and he remembers his script, he can probably seem a little bit more progressive. But Ohio, Pennsylvania, I'm trying to think who would get Wisconsin. I'm giving it to Trump. It would be a little bit, it would be close, I think, but it wouldn't matter. As a Democrat, Josiah. Let's see. So look, when I do these, I want you to understand I am not trying to discourage people because look, I don't believe in any of the fear mongering about who can win the general. Bernie's going to lose because nobody's going to vote for a socialist. I don't buy that. What I'm simply stating is I try to pay attention to stuff enough so I can at least have some position that's rooted in what I think is reality. So if I don't know, like for Castro, we've never seen him attempt, or rather, in a national election, we don't know what his reception is. So this is a little bit harder to do with Sanders, where you can be confident about higher turnout with that particular group. And that's what is going to fault Klobuchar, because she's stupid enough to think, well, Josiah, I guess the biggest problem I have with the independent thing is that it's like if he runs as a Democrat, they're going to say he's trying to screw it up for whoever the eventual nominee is because they're narcissistic. And if he runs as independent, they're definitely going to say he's the one who's trying to like give it back to Trump. So it's like you can't win either way. And just with in being an independent, it's going to, I think it would verify more of their claims. And I think he'd have, like, I just don't see a scenario where an independent can win. Whether it's Sanders or Trump or anyone else. Like the two-party system is that powerful. Paulette Jordan, but lost to Republican, even though most people agree with her policies. Oh yeah, man, people vote against their own interests at the time, Ruben. Oh, we had a good candidate for Senator, Hartson, the one that TYT propped up, and she only got, I think, 2% of the vote, and now we're stuck with the dinosaur again. Yeah, and I'm not, I want Josiah to understand, I'm not trying to, crap on his idea at all. I'm just saying that based off of what I've seen, even the most successful third-party candidates, including TR, who was president prior to running against Taft, don't seem to be able to pull it off. And I think it's not much about their name recognition or who they are, but because we have a system that is designed to screw over someone who doesn't have a D or an R next to their name in pretty much any election. That's why Bernie, when he ran for Senate in 2006, he won the Democratic primary. He entered the primary, and then he rejected their nomination. This disabled the statewide, the Vermont Democratic Party, from being able to run a candidate against him. He knew that you can't, you have to infiltrate one of these two to be able to actually pull this off. He definitely win it. There's a first for everything. Oh no, I'm not saying that it. I guess what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying it's impossible. What I'm saying is there are circumstances both relating to the psychology of voters and the way that the U.S. electoral system is set up that have disabled people from being able to do this stuff realistically in the past and also in the foreseeable future. You have people who try to, fearmonger you and go, if you don't vote for this, the Democrat or Republican, you're going to get stuck with the Republican or Democrat. They try to scare you into not going with whoever you support. Yeah, I agree, Ruben. Yeah, Nader is a smart man, and he got whacked for that. But going back to what I was saying about Klobuchar, because she doesn't want to run as a person. I guess what I see with her is that they talk about Hillary syndrome or just having the same mistakes that Clinton had. This is another. She strikes me because she won't pander to her own base, which is something Trump excels at doing. Making his own base when it turn out and be excited for him. Because she doesn't do that and she tries to play this quote unquote moderate thing and oh look at all these Republicans that like me. I see the progressive wing of the party being turned off. I see something like when I think of Florida now, I always think of Gillum DeSantis, where just barely, Gillum could have won, but then he pivoted to the right, or rather, to the center during the general. I just don't see her being able to trick progressives into thinking, oh yeah, I'm one of you. So I just that's why I don't put her as someone that is capable of winning against Trump. I think she can get Iowa. And if we're nice, maybe Wisconsin, just because they're close. But places like South Dakota, where they're electing Republicans that aren't even that good with 60% of the vote, there's no chance. So that's just my position on that. Let me show you what something here. Who else is being talked about as someone that's a big deal? So like when I said that Harris couldn't win, right? I don't think she would get Iowa. I think even Minnesota might, because Hillary just barely won that. I think she would lose Wisconsin. I think she could probably get North Carolina, and pretty much everything else stays the same. Does better than Clinton, but I mean that's not really that shocking. And if I want to be nice, I would say that maybe Florida, but just these other ones, I don't get what the appeal of her is. Again, just saying. Go over to my to the regular stream, or not the regular stream. I'm still trying to figure out how to use the Google Hangouts thing with the screen share because I'm not used to doing this. I've only used it since yesterday. But yeah, I tried to be balanced on here, and that's why the derangement syndrome comment just oh, you can't win with Trump's fans, no matter what you say or do. If it's not blind loyalty, you're the bad guy. Sad. I don't know. Did you guys like that? The map. So being able to see what I think the results would actually look like in a foreseeable tie-up or matchup, rather. No comment. Let's see here. No, this whole cycle has just been filled with people grandstanding and doing really weird stuff as it relates to their rhetoric and just kind of. I mean, I told you I went on like your map. Who is more likable, Gillibrand or Klobuchar? Like I said before, because Gillibrand is not stupid, which again, her voting record is something I don't agree with. Before the last couple of years, but because she's not dumb and she's actually a very savvy politician like Harris, she can come off as more likable. Um, and just like with Klobuchar, right? This is a person who people said was likable, was someone that could work with people, and that's you see her sit there on that comment and tell you you're you what is it? I'm sorry, I'm not a genie for not being able to give you free universities. Like, what's wrong with you? I mean, like, who's going to hear that comment, right? That's between 18 to whatever age that people are that are all in school. I know it's higher than that, but what young person that is a voting age, so 18 and it's maybe like 30 or mid 30s, is going to hear that and not feel like the this senator is talking to me like I'm a child or I'm someone that doesn't understand reality. Like I'm dumb, basically. It's that it's funny, they oftentimes say mansplain, right? So they say that men are trying to explain stuff to women, but then we have the senator who's talking to us like we're idiots. I find it incredible, and they never seem to really get any flack for doing this. Klobuchar still was able to get $1 million donations in 4 days, um, or not 4 days, in 48 hours. My mistake. And then Bernie gets 6 million in a day, and then people tell you that it was all the Russians, it was all of it was Putin dollars. Like, man, you guys are. That's what I'm saying. You can't win because these people will always go out of their way to make sure that you're smeared at all times to fit their own screwed up agenda. Oh, where's the I wish I could find a map for the general, not the general, the primary, because I want to show you how I thought that was going to go as well. That Republican that entered that, I don't know if you remember, Ruben, that Republican that entered that race, William Weld, I don't think he has a snowball chance in hell of probably winning anywhere. I wish I could. I'm trying to see if I can find another map. Interact. Let's see here. GOP race for delegates, an interactive tool. Does this work? Let's go down here and look and explore. It sucks when it takes so long to load, and then you get it and it's not even that. So that was they tricked me. The egg is on me basically. See here, interactive map. Interactive map. They go back to the same one. Oh, I don't see one. So only state he could probably pick up is his home state, and even then, that's again one out of 50. Great job. It just sucks how they really do make it ridiculously tough to challenge a sitting president. Like the only one who ever had a chance or a snowball's estimation of winning was Ted Kennedy versus Carter, and even then, that still was. He went out of his way to run a campaign that wasn't that strong, basically, which is what crippled him in the end because Carter was already losing support among his actual group. Yes, I did. I said that word, and I don't regret it. Let me go back to the map. Who else can I do? Let's do Booker. I should have waited to give you guys the chance to ask and reset it. I don't know why they have it this way. That's weird. Yeah. Booker. And let's put Trump in there. What other Republican would it be? That's true. I don't know why they don't let you have the ability to customize the name, but that's a minor gripe. I'm gonna say in this version, I could see him getting maybe Pennsylvania, because that's kind of around that same general area, and they don't strike me as the kind of people who are going to, like when I look at the margins a lot of times between Clinton and Trump in certain states, I just say I think most of these other people, when they play fake progressive, are going to seem more because one of the things I falter for, right, her campaign is that after basically rigging the thing against Sanders and his supporters, they let me see this. Ruben asks, didn't Ted Kennedy get screwed over the instant with that woman he was with, or was that after the primaries? Yeah, the Chappaquiddick incident is where he left the woman in the car, she drowned, he got blamed for it. Even some right wingers like to say he murdered her. So uh, they use this is the year after RFK's assassination, so it's 69. This is 10 years before the primary. And Carter actually mentioned this, I think, in one instance, 2 or 3 days straight, or like multiple times during just 1 week, to just keep kind of highlighting it. So yeah, he did. That was one of the factors as well. But his overall campaign is generally agreed to not be, for the one time he ever ran, a not smart move. Like, let's put it that way, to challenge an incumbent president of your own party, and then to also be unable to articulate your ideas. Kind of be forceful with it, because you've seen, his speech at the 1980 Democratic Convention was basically, heralded as this great memorable address. So he could have been, energetic when he wanted to. Problem is, he just wasn't during that particular election cycle. Jay Tron says Red Wave taking on. Yeah, man. I don't, like I said, this is not the Trump derangement channel. That's why that comment got on my nerves, because I try to look at this stuff, seemingly fairly. So I think Booker could get Pennsylvania, but I don't see him getting Florida. Or if he does, it would just be barely. But I'm still leaning toward Trump on that. I think he might be able to get Wisconsin just because he plays the progressive thing. I think Trump gets Arizona again, and I just think that he gets Michigan again. Again, it's closer than Hillary, but that it still isn't enough, because people, if they're not excited to come out for something, you're not going to win, because I'm not the other person, and that's been kind of the thing about Avenatti. Yeah. All right, let's play this. Probably would lose Nevada. Probably would lose where else? I don't see him flipping any of these places. You're running literally on I'm not Trump. Avenatti would just get destroyed. It wouldn't even be funny. Anywhere that's not already blue, this would be red. I think Virginia. It would be because of name recognition and people not wanting to sound like, not wanting to be, they're not interested in voting for someone just because, oh my God, you're not the other person. Professor, a lecturer of scholarly academia. Thanks, but I just I casually follow this stuff. If they didn't make it $1 trillion to run for something, we could talk about taking it further. But thanks to Citizens United and other laws, we have to have ridiculous sums of money that most people don't even make in their lifetime just to mount a campaign. That's how insane this has gotten. So I hope I answered Josiah's question about Avenatti. Shea Gabbard, though, why I said that she had a chance, or at least a better one than the rest of them. So I don't see her getting Texas. I do see her getting Arizona. Basically, her whole appeal would be, I am a military member. Veterans make up of over a fourth of the homeless. We have to do something about that. And that would resonate with places where there is basically anywhere where Democrats have a 10% margin. So you might say to yourself, South Carolina going blue, that's crazy. But the idea is, these are places that have a strong background with military involvement. So, that would resonate more here than, in Texas, which is not, if I'm remembering correctly, as military revolving, or as revolving around the military. So I think that would resonate in Iowa, Minnesota, Nevada, and nowhere else. Pennsylvania, Ohio. Might not work in Florida. Maybe not. I'm gonna put that as something that they could kind of. It's another one of those things where I make it red. I still think it could go either way, but it's just more tilted in that direction. I'm gonna say she probably would. I lean it toward Trump, but it could still go for her. But she doesn't have like they went after her over the LGBT stuff, but I think the influx of the voter turnout from her being someone that supports, ideas that are more popular with that demographic probably would swing it. But again, it still could go either way, in my opinion. So that would be a result of it. And look, like I said before, being impartial, so I don't think she gets North Carolina, but I think Booker and Harris do. I don't just go, oh, I don't like you, so you can't win anywhere. No, this is based on trying to observe this stuff. I mean, I think one of the misconceptions about the content is this idea that I supposedly get off on trying to make it seem as if these people are villains or otherwise not able to do anything right. It's just not the case. I've tried to kind of come at it a little even-handed, and because I'm not a fool and can tell that there are individuals that are genuinely inspired by Trump, they're going to come right back. And that's why I said Klobuchar would fail, because she would make the mistake of thinking, oh, I can chip away some of his support. I'm like, no, maybe about two or three of them that are disappointed out of every like 800 people. So I don't buy that. All right, what else can I say? I think I've pretty much gone over everything thus far. Do you have anything else to ask or what? No comment. I don't know. I'm just so we went over the de Blasio getting in, comments by Klobuchar to piss me off. I don't think we went over Harris and her shenanigans, but she's someone that can be discussed more in depth in other streams and subsequent videos, because she's actually getting propped up. So you're gonna have, what's your streaming schedule? It really is just spur of the moment. When I did the Patreon, for example, Josiah, one of my things was that I set the goal because when you have the amount that was listed there, you're able to kind of just do this at a specific time. But a lot of times it's reflective of when others do not interject with what I'm trying to do. Let's see. Ruben says, I personally believe Klobuchar is actually trying to convince Kamala to choose her as her VP. And you know what? If she did pick her, that would literally be making Harris's run more similar to the more reminiscent of Hillary's run, because you pick a person who is you're already considered center left at best, and then you pick someone who's to the right of you, and then you think, oh, if I put them on here, this is going to get Republicans to vote for me, and then talk about espionage. What, the Espionage Act? They used to jail journalists. I like Ruben's theory. I think a lot of people are just getting in because they want to get selected as VP. I mean, you look at Biden and him getting smashed in 2008 in the Iowa caucus and then becoming VP. So that's a theory that has its basis in reality. I can see that. It's going to be a really interesting next couple of months, and apparently, or we're going to find out if O'Rourke is actually involved or interested in getting intermixed in this within the next week, because he said by the end of February he'd make a decision. I think it's funny how he went from being this darling angel, right? oh my God, this guy who was so stunning and energetic was able to almost upset Cruz in the red state, to, being this person that is brought up for the presidency, and then after Harris announces, all this stuff swarms around her, and he just gets completely, thrown to the wayside. Would Warren be Bernie's first choice VP if he wins the primaries? He said he would look to. Let me see if I can find that article, because I don't like saying something and then not presenting it. Google.com. VP. Okay, here it is. Screen share. Application. A lot of times I'm doing this, I oftentimes say whatever is I'm thinking of doing, like, just out loud. So when he was interviewed by TYT, he said, there we go. I think we would look for someone who is maybe not of the same gender that I am, and maybe someone who might be a couple of years younger than me. So that was his answer. Didn't name names, but you can conclude Warren probably is in that list. I know she was on the list for Hillary. I personally would like him to pick Turner, but it is what it is. I just think the DNC is pissed at Gabbard over resigning and to endorse him, and they're kind of going out of their way to do everything they can to sabotage her. And if he picked her, they would get pissed, and there probably was some backroom deal that made him more acceptable this time around. There's a lot of weird shenanigans going on, and I cannot predict this stuff. But here, what was this? Vera Versa Vice and vice versa. Oh, okay, Josiah. I was getting confused by the other comment. Yeah, they probably both have talked about the idea of running together. I'm sure. Sensationalist hooey. Well, look, I'm just telling you what he said because I didn't want to speak for him. So, thank you for watching. Have a good night.